Another popular question I get asked is what are the pros and cons of becoming a freelance developer as opposed to a developer that works in a 9 to 5 setting? So some of the pros and cons that I'm about to list here, they're my opinion. Uh, Everyone's going to have different pros and cons or opinions on pros and cons. In fact, some of the pros that I list might be cons for other people may consider them cons, and some of the cons that I list will probably become pros that for other people. So I'll just give you my opinion on what are the pros and cons for me as a freelance developer. So one of the biggest pros of being a freelance developer is that I get the freedom to learn what I want when I want. I can position myself. I can create opportunities for myself to learn what I want and when I want. So as an example, like let's say in a 9 to 5 type of setting, right? If you're already working company and they're already using Angular as the front end and they're already doing things with .NET as the back end, and it's a team size of like 100 people. Oh, sorry, maybe there are going to be smaller teams of maybe 3 or 4 within a larger company of 100, 1,000 people or so. It's very difficult if you're working on a team like that and you say, I want to start working with React.js and I want to start doing something with Java or Golang or some other, you want to use completely different technology. It's going to be more difficult to explain to management or get management to agree with you on doing those types of projects. Maybe they'll give you small projects off on the side if you're lucky, but there's a little bit more. There's going to be some persuading that you're going to have to do to get people on board with let's say encouraging you to work on a project like that. But as a freelancer, especially if you're just an independent freelancer and you're not working in big teams, you can pick and choose which projects you want to work on depending on what clients come through the door. You can look for clients that are looking to use a technology that you're interested in, and you can start learning that technology and working with it just like that. So I think that's one of the biggest advantages of being a freelance developer is that you get to pick the projects you want to work on, the technologies you want to use. You'll just have to make sure you work out a budget that accommodates your the learning curve that you're about to experience. And if you're not using it on a client project, you can always do it on your own side project. You can manage your own time to give yourself the time to learn the new technologies that you're interested in. Okay, so that's the first pro, is you get a lot of freedom to learn what you want and do what you want at the pace that you want. Okay. Another advantage of becoming a freelance developer is, again, freedom. This time, freedom of who you want to work with, right? And not just in terms of clients and customers, but the team members you want to choose to work with you. Because deliver a web solution, most of the time, you're going to need to involve other people, such as designers or marketing people or a social media marketer, some SEO person or something like that. You're going to need to pick who you want to work with, like what teams you want to work with. So whereas in a 9 to 5 setting, you could be just stuck with teams with coworkers that you don't really like. As a freelance developer, you have more freedom of who you want to work with. So I think that's another advantage there. And I think the other big advantage of becoming a freelance developer is freedom again, right? Freedom in terms of choosing what industry you want to work in. Let's say when I was working at this newspaper corporation that I was with, I'm working mostly with, I was working, I think, more on the hospitality side on some of the platforms I was doing, but it would be, say, very difficult for me to do something in the medical sector while working in a media company, right, or a marketing company. Well, as a freelancer, you have the opportunity to jump from medical sector to agriculture to marketing. You get to pick what industry you want to work in. After a few months, if you don't like it, you can try to find clients in a completely different industry. I remember one time I had a really good friend of mine. This was many years ago. He was being interviewed at a job, and the interviewer asked a question, a very typical interview questions, which is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And at the time, actually, my friend gave a really good answer. He said he wasn't sure. right? Because he was just out of school, and it feels like that his in terms of his life and his career, he feels like right now it's a buffet, right? At a buffet, you go sample everything first. Once you've had a taste of everything and you know what you like, that's when you can really focus on it. You like the shrimp, then you go ahead and indulge on the shrimp. So I feel like as a freelancer, you have that opportunity, right? There are so many different industries and business sectors out there. You can focus on finance, healthcare, there's mental health. Like there's just so many different things that you can explore. You can do a project, 1 or 2 month project or a few week project, or even a year-long project in any one of these sectors. And the moment you don't like it, you can transition to something else. Or if you have the capacity to, you can work in 2 or 3 different sectors at the same time. Take on a project for a university while also doing something for marketing for the automotive sector, and then also have yet another project doing something for the agriculture sector. Right? It's all up to you. You get more freedom to explore all the different sectors out there and meet a lot of different people. So I think those are the 3 biggest advantages of becoming a freelance developer, which I was not able to experience in a traditional 9 to 5 type of job. Okay, so as for disadvantages of being a freelance developer, for me, I think the most difficult thing is, initially at least, is learning to manage clients, right? So managing clients, as in there's a lot of clients that aren't very disorganized. That's people who are especially let's say clients who are very much more on the sales and marketing side. There's a higher propensity of them being more scatterbrained or just disorganized in general. They can't stick to their own timelines. They'll change their business decisions, every day, every hour, who knows, so when they're disorganized like that, it can really make it difficult to develop a solution that you like and on time and stick within budget, right? So developing the skills to manage a client is a difficult thing to do, but but once you have it down, then it's a very valuable skill set if you ever choose to take on a management position in a 9 to 5 setting, for example, in a more traditional company. So a potential con is that managing difficult clients or disorganized clients. And yet another con, then, a lot of the clients who are disorganized, they're also more at risk of being delinquent in payments, right? So you do work for a client and then they don't pay you, right? So that's a very that's a very common problem in the business. But again, there are strategies to manage that. So once you get that down, it's not that big of a deal either. Right? So those are 2 disadvantages to becoming a freelance developer, but there are solutions around that. Okay. In terms of, now I should also speak to what other people might consider pros of becoming a freelancer. Popular reasons for, that people consider a pro would be that you get to work from anywhere. So a lot of people use freelancing as an opportunity to either work from home more or to work abroad. So you can take on a project in New York, but then actually be working in Spain, right? Or working in like China or wherever you want. So you can work and travel at the same time. So that's a potential advantage for being a freelancer. It wasn't something that was relevant to me. I didn't really care much about traveling. I care more about the work that I do, and I never felt any real desire to travel. Okay? And the other advantage of other people cite as being advantage of becoming a freelance developer is that you get to choose your own work hours, right? So you can actually work more. So if for people who have family and have young children, they might need to shift around their schedules a little bit more so that they can pick their kids up from daycare or spend more time with their kids if they're under the age of 2 or so. Freelancing does offer the opportunity to have a more flexible schedule. Again, that's not really relevant to me because I don't have any children. And let me correct that. It is relevant to me because I'm the type of person that I just work nonstop anyway. I would rather work nonstop for myself than get paid more for myself than rather work nonstop for a 9 to 5 company who doesn't really pay me any more than the 9 to 5 allotment, right? So that's the other advantage. You pick your own work schedule. The more work you put in, the only person that you're really benefiting is yourself. You're not just benefiting some soulless corporation with your extra hours. Okay. Other people might, when it comes to other people's perception of what can be a con, is that your income may not be as predictable. All right. So it's comfortable. A 9 to 5 job gives you that comfort of knowing you're always going to be paid, every 2 weeks or every week or every month or so up until you retire, maybe, or it gives you that perception of that security, income security. But I'd like to say that sometimes I feel that type of job security or that kind of income security, it's a little bit misplaced because economies do collapse. And we're working in a sector where technology is moving so quickly, your skills could be out of date. So, pretty quickly, and you could find yourself out of job anyway, right? But anyway, there is that perception that becoming a freelancer, you don't have that same income stability. But that is usually, if you're a good developer, and you're known, and you're well known by the right people, right? The right people meaning the people who can afford you and give you the right projects. If you're well connected and you're well known and you do a good job, income security shouldn't really be an issue. You're going to get more work than you can handle. You're always going to be asked to be involved on projects. And as long as you have good negotiation skills and you can really set the right price for yourself, there really shouldn't be any issues when it comes to income security. So I think those are my thoughts on pros and cons of becoming a freelance developer.